Stay right here with that. He's not listening to a thing I say.
Everyone shut down the machine! Do you hear me? Somebody shut off that camera!
Poppy Playtime Chapter 4 is here, and today we're gonna explain you all the entire lore of it, so sit in, cause the game is way emotional than we thought. So our chapter starts with Poppy leaving the player in order to help Kissy. Before she leaves, she warns the player how dangerous it is.
It's not trying to hide what it is. It's hell. And Playtime wanted it.
Look at this little shit leaving me alone after saying this. While looking for a way into the prison, we encounter a place full of discarded toys. Suddenly, alarm goes on and an army of small Huggies attacks, which could be a little funny if it wasn't so scary. A flare gun hand, fortunately, is enough to scare them off. Eventually, player finds an empty cell on a train that takes them inside. In that cell, player gets discovered by the doctor who causes the train to crash.
Now what's this? Do I feel something squirming its way beneath my skin? An invasive foreign little germ. After all this time? Ah, but I see. You. Well, little germ. Let's make a game of you. We've blundered along the shadows above, and only managed to squirm all the way down here by the bare skin of your teeth. There are no shadows here that will be of use to you. Not even the ground beneath your feet is yours. There are no places you can hide. Not from me.
Once player wakes, he has already arrived to prison. As Doctor carefully observes the player, he sends multiple nightmare critters with mini Huggies for the purpose of testing player.
Thank you.
After a while, the Doctor calls them off. The player manages to reacquire a red crackback hand from a corpse, which helps him get further into the prison. After reaching an observation room, our big guy Doctor proceeds to comment players' previous encounters of the bigger bodies, and then releases his experiment, Yarnaby. The only way of traveling requires going through a series of backrooms, which Yarnaby has escaped to. Player is forced to navigate around cramped spaces. It turns out they aren't alone, as weird stretchy creature helps the player by opening the door and distracting the monster, which allows the player to escape Yarnaby's territory.
As the player continues to navigate across the ledge in the observation room, he suddenly gives away a dropping player into the Eyezs'Lores cell, who attempts to attack the player.
Now that hit the spot. I haven't eaten.
What the fuck is this fucking sentence? So the player is going through the navigation room, observation room, and then he falls into the cell of Eyezs'Lores. Fuck this sentence. Fortunately, player is saved by a number of stretching mysterious arms who turn out to belong to Doey the Dough Man. What the fuck is his name? The helper turns out to be friendly towards the player and assuring the player that Poppy has told him to expect them. He asks the player to follow him to the place called Safe Haven, which he says is safe on this level. As they're getting closer to destination, Doey goes ahead and soon the player gets pulled into a corner by Poppy and the badly damaged Kissy out of the way of the prototype's leg. What the fuck? Now, full trio goes together approaching Safe Haven. It's a heavenly 45 section of the facility with its separated power grid to a place where non-aggressive toys hid under Doey's protection. Everyone is surprised there by Poppy's appearance, as she had disappeared years ago, which made their trust for her limited. The fact that Prototype followed them to Safe Haven also becomes clear, which makes Doey clearly angry, but he quickly controls himself and makes sure that Prototype won't be able to get inside. Well, that was my part. I can't do script for shit, and she'll continue the rest. Thank you guys, bye bye.
Finally, Poppy reveals her plan. It turns out that inside the playcard there are still some non-turned-into experiments orphans stuck at the lowest facility level. The goal is to rescue them and then use the red smoke and old mining charges to blow up the foundation and destroy the factory, but only after the orphans are safe. She wanna make sure that Playtime's core research can never hurt anyone again, and also destroy the prototype. After that, she sends player with Doey to Safe Haven's generator. However, at generator, Doey reveals to player he doesn't like the plan. As much as he can understand Poppy, he treats other toys he have been protecting as his family, and even thought he understands the importance of stopping the prototype, he would prefer a solution that doesn't require blowing up all his friends. Well, Doug, why would he wanna blow up his own family? He asks the player to consider it before revealing another problem. Unfortunately, generator of Safe Haven is starting to fail after all the years, and is obviously needed there for protection. In order to get it fixed, they need Omni-Hand grab pack that are served as the master control in the factory. He suspects that the Doctor has one to control the prison, and he sends off player to defeat Doctor, and still has Omni-Hand. He makes sure to assure the player that if he needs rest, he is welcome in Safe Haven. In order to go after the Doctor, player needs to get back into the main prison complex first. The easiest way to achieve that is crossing no man's land. While heading to the wastewater treatment, player hears Doey and Poppy talk. Poppy apologizes for leaving, and Doey questions her reasons. In order to progress, player needs to solve some puzzles, but the noise attracts Yarnabai. In order to avoid being detected, player has to use grab pack the least possible, hiding into narrow crevices when they are spotted. Puzzles lead to the pump room, which player has to somehow open, with Yarnabai patrolling. Once player finally reaches the door out of the area, Yarnabai catches up and chases him. Player manages to successfully escape using a chain with a hook to swing over a gap, causing it to swing down and catch on Yarnabai's mouth when he jumps to follow them across. But his fur catches fire, causing him to fall in pain, disappearing in the pit. After the chase, the player runs into Doey again, finding out that he was out looking for the parts for the generator. He asks about the Doctor, who isn't dead yet. Before he can continue talking, a nearby gas pipe releases a freezing gas onto Doey, causing him to be in intense pain, even after the player helps him. Player re-enters Doctor's territory, leaving Doey trying to recover. Once back at Doctor's territory, he can observe player again. He notes that the player is everything the prototype is afraid of, and wonders how Playtime never noticed someone so special among their team. He is confused what could be the reason of a player to come back.
I can't say I remember seeing your face before, but I'm curious. Why come back? It can't be that a vague letter was your only reason. Was there someone you loved here? Someone you'd lost? Was it the pain of not knowing for sure that brought you here?
Player continues moving and eventually falls into trap set by Doctor in an operating room. a blue hand scanner which activated a freezing gas when scanned, causing the hand to get stuck and also being dangerous for the player. While trying to escape, player picks a spare blue hand, using it to activate the room's temperature control. We find out from Doctor that Poppy knew more than she said. She was aware of the Hour of Joy. He tries to make player consider how Poppy has used them, but disabling the trap destroys Doctor's preserved lungs, which were in the room. As the player moves forward into the maze, which is covered in red gas, he is forced to use broken gas mask, which uses replaceable cartridges to filter it out. But each cartridge only lasts a minute. Player looks for clues that will lead to a keypad code, which would let him open the way to Doctor's preserved liver. Once again, player falls into another trap of Doctor's, which disables his purple hand, forcing player to swing across a gap on a grab pack as Doctor shocks the player, dropping him into a maze with another pets of his, Baba Chips. Player needs to solve a power redirection puzzle, occasionally disturbed by bigger than usual nightmare critters in cages. After solving the task, player gets trapped by the Doctor with containers similar to ones used for his organs, except this one only contains a harmless smoke. Doctor tests morality of the player by giving him a choice. The doors will only open if he fries the trapped toy. Doctor believes Poppy and Doey would do it, but he wants to see how the player will handle it. There is a way to leave without frying the toy through the hole in the ceiling, but whatever the choice, both will lead player to the Doctor's lair. Once reaching it, the Doctor's true form turns out to be a massive tank surrounded by monitors in a room containing his brain and remote-controlled robot bodies. As the player approaches him, he opens a trapdoor under player's feet, which causes him to drop into the server rooms below him. In order to return to monitor room to destroy Doctor's brain, player is forced to collect batteries around the rooms. Area around him is like a dark maze filled with remote-controlled, mostly frozen bodies, but few ain't, and some part of them might activate as they shining yellow light from their monitors that will activate them if player walks through it. Once all batteries are plugged into the center of server rooms, it opens way back to top, which allows player to reach Doctor's brain. Player removes his Omni chip, which causes a power surge that dangerous to destroy him. Using his last strength, Doctor sends all his bodies at the player, but system doesn't work, which disables all his robots, and finally he dies. Using the Omni chip player took from the Doctor, he upgrades his red hand to Omni hand, which allows him to open path back to safe haven. Once he arrives, Poppy and Doey prepare to help him fixing the generator, and Doey attempts to confront Poppy about her plan, trying to make her reconsider.
He'll be scared. He knows he's losing now, and the orphans are all he has. Now's the time to get to the Foundation. Make everything ready.
Look, we need to talk about this. We should...
Just give it a second.
They get interrupted by a phone call from Ollie, who states that prototype is outside safe haven.
Who's... Oh no! You need to distract him, Doey! Please! Keep him away from here!
Without the generator!
I know, but he can't get in here. Not now! Just buy us some time.
Poppy sends Doey out to distract the prototype and lead him away, and player is left alone in the generator room trying to fix it with the help of Ollie's instructions. They succeed at reinforcing Safe Haven's defenses, but get no signs of Doey coming back. Poppy decides there is no time to wait with her plan and tells player to move forward. Player alone heads to Foundation, collecting series of mining charges and planting them in central gas room, redirecting the gas to increase its pressure. Eventually, player encounters Doey, who lost the prototype in the case. Unfortunately, too late he realizes that the prototype's intention was to lead him away from the safe haven. A distant explosion shakes the cave and Doey, followed by player, runs back to safe haven. After they reach safe haven, it turns out to be completely destroyed with all the toys inside dead. Doey breaks down. He regrets not being able to protect his family, and the loss hurts him deeply. The tragedy causes him to snap and swing between personalities of 3 children who were used to make him. Matthew's influence is trying to control his anger at Poppy and the player, while Jack's influence is focused on the sadness over the death of friends. While Kevin starts blaming the player for the death of survivors. Kevin's personality wins, which causes Doey to attempt to kill the player, but he accidentally knocks a wall on himself, and after he comes out, he's a twisted monster with 3 heads in its mouth. After Doey's death, player looks for survivors, stumbling into ventilation block on a shelf B6, where he finds Poppy and Kissy Missy. Poppy gets mad at the player and assumes he has caused the plan's failure, and the fact player killed Doey terrifies her. As Poppy tries to contact Ollie, it turns out he has been the prototype the whole time, which could mean the real Ollie has died a long while ago, but prototype manipulated everyone to believe him.
Ollie! Something's gone horribly wrong. The safe haven...
Shelf ventilation block B6. Is this where you are, Poppy?
What?
Stay where you are.
And listen closely. You're not going to run. You're not going to fight. The charade is over.
Who is this?
An obvious question with an obvious answer.
You. What did you do with Ollie?
I'm right here, Poppy.
For you,
I'll always
be here.
The doctor, Catnap, Mommy and Huggy, they're all dead. You have nothing now. No one. And soon, you'll have less than that.
Stop that
You don't need to pretend
anymore, Poppy. You don't need to play at being stronger than you are.
You can
Come home.
How much do you know?
Everything.
This isn't right. All those years. Was there ever an Ollie?
Yes, there was.
But that was a very long time ago. Let me tell you what comes next.
I'm going to
Come up there.
and I'm going to
Find you. Your collaborators. The few you have left, they will be dealt with.
What are you going to do with me?
I've got something special in mind.
I prepared it just for you.
And this one.
You will never want to leave.
No. This entire time, you've lied to me!
Only because you've kept
Missing the
point.
I've taken the liberty of retrieving those explosives from the Foundation. Thanks for collecting them.
As by the way, I've put them to good use. I admit, though, I'm disappointed.
After all that time in your case, I'd hoped you'd see things
Differently, don't you understand?
It's always been about you.
And we'll hobby what we are. That's not a truth that can be burnt away. No, not when it can mean so much more.
Prototype. Please.
It's time to come home.
Poppy.
It's time to come home.
back in the case. I can't. I'm sorry.
Some friend, huh?
Don't worry, I'll find her.
As for you two, try to land on your feet.
Poppy yells at the prototype for lying the whole time, which he replies to with the fact that she kept missing the point. He mentions group's failures and threatens Poppy with putting back to a new improved case. Overwhelmed, Poppy runs away, abandoning the player and Kissy-Missy. Prototype is happy about the outcome and states that he will detonate the floor. Kissy grabs onto the edge of hole trying to save the player, but she is weakened and her arm tears off, dropping them down a deep pit. While recovering after a rough landing, player finds himself outside labs at the bottom of Playtime's facility. He is surrounded by a garden of poppy flowers. After some exploring, he finds a tape which is similar to a lecture heard at the front door when player re-enters the factory. Tape triggers alarm alerting damaged Huggy Wuggy, who turns out to have survived the fall in Chapter 1. He furiously rushes and slams at the door that the player is trapped in, as red smoke hits him. So that's it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching, and don't forget to hit the like and the red button if you wanna see more. You are welcome to comment your opinion down below. Peace out.
Call the number on screen and order your Doey today. Order now while supplies last. Shipping and handling costs may vary. Do not ingest or deliver any products in the Doey line.